In the video I posted last week, I explained the fundamental things you need to know about the Ielts examination. So if you haven't watched that video, please check it out after watching this one. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how you can properly prepare for your Ielts examination to achieve a minimum overall band score of 7. In the course of this video, I'll be giving you very important tips as well as where you can go to find the free practice materials which I use to prepare for my own Ielts. So if you're interested in knowing more, then keep watching. Hi Magis gang, my name is Majojiba Maji for short. If you're new here, you're welcome to my channel. Please consider subscribing by clicking on the red subscribe button located below. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you here with me. I hope everyone's having a good week so far and you're not letting anyone or anything dim your light. I would just like to say that this video might be a little bit long and you might also need to jot down a few things because I won't be leaving links in the description bar below to anything I'm going to give in this video, because what I've noticed is a lot of people just come and they go to the description bar and they don't watch the video, and that is not showing support. That is just being parasitic. Anyway, that aside, please get a pen and paper because you might need to jot down a few things, and also feel free to pause the video at any point or take it back, rewind it if you need to rehear something I had said which you didn't quite understand. Okay, I'm going to do my best to break down everything as much as I can, so brace yourself. So I have written the Ielts general training twice and I passed both times. The only reason I wrote the second one was because the first one was about to expire. Now, if you are here because you are preparing for the academic Ielts, please don't click off, because all the tips I will be sharing in this video are also applicable to the academic Ielts, okay? And I will also give you links, or I'll tell you where you can go and find very good practice materials that will help you excel in your Ielts academic examination as well. So don't worry, I got you. If you watched my Ielts FAQ video, you would know the main differences and similarities between the Ielts academic and the Ielts general training test. So this is how it's going to be. I'm going to start off by giving you 3 general tips that apply to whether you're taking the general training or the academic Ielts, after which I will give you component specific tips for the reading, writing, speaking and listening, and then I will also tell you where you can find the practice materials. There is a saying that if you fail to plan, then you are planning to fail. This brings me to the first tip. Make a clear plan on how you intend to study for the exam, how long you need to study before you book the test, what areas you need to cover or focus on while preparing for the test, and whether or not you need to hire a tutor to help you with preparation for the test. Don't be afraid or ashamed to seek the help of a tutor. Depending on how confident you are with your level of grammar, you may or may not require the services of a hired tutor. When you're practicing for the test, don't practice from too many sources. Rather, pick a few good sources like the ones I will give you in this video and practice intensively. The thing with practicing from too many sources is that everybody has their different approach when it comes to explaining anything in life. So practicing from too many sources could end up creating confusion for you instead of giving you a solution to the problem you have in the first place. All the practice resources I'll be sharing with you in this video would require you to have access to the internet. So if you're unable to have regular access to internet, please go to your local IELTS center and purchase some of the IELTS study books and DVDs, because you still have to practice one way or the other, even if you're a native English speaker. Okay, so we'll just go straight to the component specific tips. The reading component of the IELTS exam usually comprises of the following tasks: summary completion, matching headings to paragraphs, identifying the writer's views, multiple choice, selecting factors, table completion, matching causes and effects, sentence completion, and short answer questions. So as a result of the different tasks you could encounter in the reading section of the IELTS exam, my first tip for you would be try to read a variety of newspapers, well-structured novels and magazines. Tip number 2 would be for you to practice skimming and scanning through passages to understand the key idea or key ideas. And tip number 3 would be for you to practice past IELTS reading questions over and over again until you achieve a score you are comfortable with. Most times, if not every time, the places you get the questions that you're practicing with will also have the answer sheets at the end or attached as a separate file. So you would always be able to cross-check your answers when you are done, okay? No peeking, because in the exam there won't be peeking. So no peeking, you will be able to cross-check your answers when you're done and then calculate your score. In the listening component of the IELTS examination, you will be required to listen to different accents from major English speakers like the British, Americans, Australians, and Canadians. So my first tip is try to listen to a variety of foreign radio broadcasts to familiarize yourself with the different accents. Tip number 2, which is kind of related to tip number 1, is for you to watch the foreign news and or watch foreign movies to also kind of familiarize yourself with the different foreign accents. And tip number 3 is for you to practice past IELTS listening questions over and over again until you achieve a score you are comfortable with. The writing section of the IELTS general training has 2 tasks which you need to complete or attempt. In task 1, you'll be required to write some form of letter. It could be a formal letter or an informal letter of at least 150 words. In task 2, you'll be required to write an essay of at least 250 words. The writing component of the IELTS academic exam also has 2 tasks, but in task 1 of the academic exam, you'll be required to describe either a graph, a table, a chart, or a diagram in your own words of at least 150 words. And in task 2, you'll be required to write an essay of at least 250 words. Tip number 1, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is a great way to improve your IELTS score because it shows the examiner that you're able to say something that has been said in one way in another way. A website called thesaurus.com can help you find synonyms that you can use to paraphrase sentences. Tip number 2, if you plan to take the computer-based IELTS examination, practice your writing on the Notepad app on your computer because the Notepad app does not autocorrect or highlight mistakes in your sentences. That way, you'll be able to review your work and note down any mistakes you might have made. Tip number 3, if you have difficulties with spelling, you could practice the writing tasks in Microsoft Word because Microsoft Word will highlight incorrect words and it will also give you the correct word. When you right click on the word, it's going to show you the correct spelling. The only problem with this is it might make you become too comfortable. So I only suggest you do this as an initial practice and then still go back to practicing in the Notepad. And tip number 4, I know by now I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but I have to say it. Practice until you're comfortable with the score you achieve during your practice. The thing with the IELTS writing component is when you practice, the answer sheets you would use to cross-check your answers. It's not like when you're practicing for your listening or your reading components because it's a bit different and everybody writes differently. So just practice as much as you can, and then what you should do when you're cross-checking answers is check the answers that are provided of the higher band scores so that you can practice to achieve that level of quality in your work in the exam. The speaking component of the IELTS test is conducted face-to-face with an examiner. The test has the following components. So there's an initial greetings and identification check, after which you jump into part 1, where the examiner will ask you questions and you will be required to provide answers to those questions. And then there's part 2, where you'll be required to give a brief talk on a topic the examiner will give you, and then the examiner will ask you a few questions after. And then last but not least, there's part 3, where you would have to have a discussion with the examiner. Most times, the discussion in part 3 is related to what you talked about in part 2. Tip number 1 is for you to paraphrase the answers to the questions you are asked. Don't be confused, I'm going to explain. For example, if the examiner asks you, Have you visited any foreign countries? A paraphrased response would be, yes, I have been abroad on different occasions. The first was to England and the second was my visit to Australia. The words in the question which have been paraphrased in the answer are foreign countries, which has been paraphrased to just one word, abroad. So tip number 2 would be for you to practice your pronunciations. Like even this word, I know some people say pronunciations, and that's wrong. It's pronunciation. So you need to practice your pronunciations. If you struggle with the pronunciations of some words and hiring a tutor is not really within your budget, you can go to thesaurus.com and type in the word which is a bit difficult for you to pronounce. And there is a little speaker icon which will pronounce the words for you when you click on it.
Placebo or placebo.
Tip number 3, try as much as you can to use higher level grammar when constructing your sentences. However, make sure you're not going like too much above your level of English so that you don't make a sentence that doesn't make any sense, and that will not take you anywhere. Let me give an example of how you can use higher level grammar while constructing a sentence. So instead of saying, while I was going up the staircase, say something like, while I was ascending the flight of stairs.
We call that intelligentsia.
Bigger vocabulary equals higher band score. Another example is, instead of saying the food was cheap, say something like the food was quite inexpensive. Same meaning but higher band score grammar. Tip number 4, don't worry about your accent. It's not going to affect your Ielts score. What matters is your pronunciation. So don't get nervous if you do not sound like a typical English speaker. Tip number 5, probably sounding like a broken record by now, but it's for you to practice the speaking component as much as you can over and over again until you're confident with your speaking ability. There's no answer sheet for this one. So maybe the answer sheet will be like the practice resources I'll give you in a few moments. Also, you could record your speaking practice sessions on your phone and play them back later to have an idea of how you sound. Okay, so it's time for the resources. So the resources that I have used to prepare for my Ielts in the past are from Ielts Liz and General Ielts Help. Ielts Liz has a YouTube channel, and although she hasn't posted any videos recently, all her videos are still very relevant and helpful in preparation for the Ielts examination because the fundamentals of the test remain the same. She also has a blog you could check out. You'll find a link to her blog in the description bar of her videos. The General Ielts Help has a YouTube channel that is updated regularly, and there are a lot of resources there to help you prepare for your Ielts General Training exam. They also have a dedicated YouTube channel to help you prepare for the academic Ielts, and it is called Academic English Help. To get more free Ielts study materials, you could go to the following websites. Okay fam, that's all for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you know anyone that would benefit from anything I said, please share the video with them. Share it with your friends and family. You never know, someone might find this helpful. See you next time, but till then, as always, stay blessed and remember God loves you. Bye.